Alright, so we're cooking some cod today. Easy recipe, something that you all could do. Very simple, couple ingredients. We're just going to make things a little bit more different though. It's going to be a breaded baked cod with a little bit of lemon in it. But the cool thing is we're going to do some potatoes with bacon and some chanterelle and mushrooms. You can use whatever mushrooms you want to use. I'm using these because they're awesome on potatoes. And as everybody knows, fish and potato goes great together. So that's what we're going to head for. That's the cod, and we have the bacon. I tend to go for more natural bacon, something that is not filled in with nitrates and stuff for color. So I got it pre-sliced because it's easy to just dice up and throw it just to roast it on the pan. And then the other thing, the salmon, I don't know where the salmon is here, but the cod that we're cooking today, that's actually wild too. So again, I tried to lean more towards the wild stuff versus the farm things because I don't know what they're feeding them. And everybody says it's better, so that's what I'm going for. As far as prep, you really don't need to prep anything. I got the potatoes already in the oven, so that's going to take a while. I just like to set them on the rack and let them cook. And then as far as the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm probably going to get the mushrooms ready for the potatoes to top them off with. And you really won't need sour cream or any sort of butter on top of the potato once you do the mushroom topping on it, because the butter's kind of going to be a little bit in there and you don't want it to make it taste too fatty. So the chives and the mushrooms, just start them up, get them ready to cook. This first thing that I'm going to do is probably cook up the bacon, just for the fact that bacon could cool off in that time while I'm doing this. And you don't want too many chives on here either, just a little bit, just for the flavor. If you like onion, you could, if you don't have chives, you could put onion into it, which would work great. As far as the actual flavor preference, everybody's got their own, so do whatever you like. If you don't like onions, you don't have to put onions into it. If you do like onions, then put onions into it. I like chives versus onions better because I think they have more flavor than onions, and they actually look better because they add a little bit of color to your food. So I think it looks great. Cut this bacon up, and I just cut them up piece by piece. They'll shrink obviously, and you probably don't want to use most of the fat that comes off of this. So you just throw it on a nice hot pan. So the pan is nice and hot, and usually most people just throw the bacon on there. I like to put a little bit of oil on here just for the fact that when you throw the bacon on there, it tends to stick right away. So I like to just a little bit of coating of a little bit of oil. Get the pepper out of there. I actually usually mix up my own olive oil with whatever, rosemary or pepper and things like that. So again, your preference. So get the bacon in there, get that going. And I'm using 2 boards because usually I don't like to toss boards as I'm cooking, or wash boards as I'm cooking, so I use one for meat, one for veggies, I guess just habit. So I got the chives done up. Mushrooms, usually it's however you want to. They are going to obviously shrink a little bit, so I just cut them in whatever shape. I mean, again, it's your preference. If you like it more diced, if you like it finer, it all depends the way that you like it. I like the randomness of it. So anything as far as, I guess that should be your own preference. And then, you know, a lot of recipes call for measured amounts. I never like to measure the amounts, just because everybody's got, like I said before, different flavors and different preferences, and they get very disappointed when they cook something with certain type of recipe with pre-measured amounts and then they go to taste it and it tastes horrible. A lot of people like to add their own style to it, so you know, if you're following this at all, you could always just use it as an idea or get your own style of it that you would prefer to it. So I'm judging, I'm doing 3 baked potatoes, so obviously I'm probably going to have some mushrooms left over, but I like to get it just about, you know, where it's going to be enough, where I like it, so I have enough. If I want a little bit more on that baked potato, I could always use a little bit more. Get the bacon nice and crispy, and I'm waiting for my fire alarm to go off. Any minute now, should happen. So I got the bacon nice and crispy, and next what I like to do is, because I don't like all of that bacon fat in there, I just like to get rid of it by drenching it over a paper towel, just in a bowl. I mean, you could leave some over just for flavor in the pan because you're going to be using the same pan again. But you can tell right away how much comes out, and you probably shouldn't be eating that. I mean, bacon is great to use for flavor, and but you probably don't want to be eating all of that. So the better idea would be is to get that out of there. And you can tell how much is still left over. So we're going to keep that for later. And next what I'm going to do is medium heat, about medium heat I would say. Use a little piece of butter. Not that butter is any better than bacon fat, but it gives it a little bit of flavor for the mushrooms. It tastes good, and you don't have to obviously use all of it, just to get the pan a little bit. Some of it is going to come off, and just throw the mushrooms on there. And if you like garlic, you can always add garlic to it, which what I like to do garlic-wise, I don't usually even peel it. I just, a couple of garlic pieces, just squish them. You don't really, I mean, if you want to, you could pick it apart, get some of that stuff out of there. I usually don't really bother too much with it. It's still going to get the flavor in there, and that's all you're looking for. And once the garlic cooks off, you're not really going to be able to get that one big piece of garlic that's going to be too much for you. Once it cooks off, alright, so that's the mushrooms, and then I'm going to throw my chives in here. And if you like the chives to be a little bit more crispy or cooked up a little bit more, you could do that before you add the mushrooms on here and get them a little nicer and crispier. Or you could even cook the chives in together with the bacon, which is going to give it more of a bacon flavor to them. But since we're mixing this with the bacon, I like them a little bit less crunchy on the potato. But this is on high heat just to get that mushroom water out of here. They do shrink and they do become a little bit more on the shrunk inside. So the mushrooms are done. I like to get them a little bit crispy, just like this. And we're gonna put them aside for now until the potatoes are done. So as you can see, it's just literally enough for like 3 potatoes, which maybe a little bit more, which works out because we're gonna mix in the bacon that we cooked. And mix that up just so slightly. And there you go, and there's your potato topping. And then obviously, you know, you could add salt to it to flavor. But you're gonna, bacon's a little bit salty, so you don't need much, and then you could add fresh pepper to it. But then you could top your potato too with pepper and stuff like that. So, all right. So now we're gonna make the actual breading for the cod. Very simple. What I usually do, some breadcrumbs, and I don't like it too breaded, just enough. So I try to put, you know, just enough that I think is going to be enough for 3 pieces of cod. So, usually what I do, we're going to add the chives in here. So these are just, and again, your own amount, however much you want to do. This is diced up fresh parsley. Just throw it in there, make it nice and colorful. And then we need lemon zest. I use the regular, what do you call it? For this lemon zest. Just make sure that you wash your actual lemon when you get it. I tend to use like a fruit wash or whatever just to get all the waxes off and everything, because it is going into your food, so you want to make sure that you wash it with something that isn't going to change the flavor, add anything or change anything, do anything that it shouldn't, and it's safer to eat. Just grate this. Just so you get a little bit. You don't want too much lemon zest, because if you put too much lemon zest in, it's going to create bitterness in it. You don't want bitterness. It's just for the flavor, the smell. Looks like I gotta flip the potatoes. So I got melted butter. I'm going to pour it in here. I'm going to cut the lemon. My knife has parsley on it, but get some lemon juice in there. Not too much. You don't want it to be too juicy in there, or too much juice in there. So put this up. And if you need to add a little bit more breadcrumbs, if you put too much moisture in it, like butter and the lemon juice, you could always add a little bit more breadcrumbs, just to make it more dry, and so it sticks to the cod. This seems just right about where it needs to be. Basic. So, perfect. And then of course you could do a little bit of salt in here, which you really don't have to if you're going to salt the cod. A little bit of pepper. And just a splash of sugar just for flavor, because you got the lemon in there, you got the onion in there. It needs a little bit of sweetness to it. And mix that up. And it's perfect. Now we're ready to get the cod ready. So here's the cod. You want to cut it whichever way you like, just the pieces, you know, whatever size pieces you want to do. You can cut it up just to make it nice. You can do whatever shape you want. If you want thicker, thinner, it's all your preference. Usually for cod, when you're cooking cod, you're looking at about, I want to say for every inch, general rule is about 10 minutes in the oven. So this should cook in about 10 minutes. This is pre-washed, dried off as much as it dries off. And all we need to do is get some pepper on there, get some salt. I'm doing two at the same time. These are not the greatest that I'm using right now, but they work. I thought they would be a little bit faster, but especially for the pepper, it's really slow for some reason. So you gotta sit there and wait for the pepper to come out. Sometimes it gets stuck too. I think I like the manual grinders a little better than the battery ones. Where you go to grind some pepper and the batteries are dead and you gotta look for batteries to grind your pepper when you're ready to eat and you're trying to top off your salad or something. So, fresh pepper and just all the sides. Just put salt on them. Don't be afraid of salt and pepper. It's not going to change the flavor, and obviously you don't want to waste it, so make sure you pick everything up off your board. Get it all in there. Okay. So I'm using Himalayan pink salt. If you notice that it's pink. It doesn't have to be. It could be sea salt. It could be whichever one you like. I like the Himalayan pink salt. It's not too overwhelming. It tastes pretty good, and so this is what I'm going to do. Put it in here, roll it around, get some on there, get it to stick on there, and then we put it on our baking sheet. You could use a sugar style baking sheet if you want. Just make sure that you put some oil on it, spread it around. That's right. Just get it on there. And then what you could do is use a paper towel to just spread it around before you lay your fish on there. Just like that. There's some round colors in there because these are actually fairly new and we used them once to make tartlets. And those shapes just burnt in there, which is kind of funny. Just lay that flat like this. You can actually pack that on there because once it bakes, it'll stick. Just want to make sure you have enough left for all of them. It'll make a mess while you're doing it too. Make sure you get it in between the oven and the countertop because that's the easiest place to clean it out of. On there, last piece. So this is what it looks like when it's all ready to go in the oven. It's going to go in the oven for 375 for about 10 minutes, and you want to just take a look at it. You don't want this to brown too fast, and at the same time you don't want the bottom to burn while this hasn't browned yet. So just play with the temperature, see what works for you depending on your oven, and that's it. So we're gonna just put that in for about 10 minutes. Alright, so it took about 15 minutes, a little bit longer than 10, but it came out nice and golden brown. That's what you want it to look like. So, to serve it, I'm just gonna take it, throw it on a plate, put it in the middle. We need our baked potato, whichever one you're using. Put the potato on there. Get this cut. I do the X's just because I like it. I think it looks cool. It's a little better. Okay. And then we're gonna top it with our mushrooms and bacon. Okay. And lemon. And there you go. lemon baked cod breaded with a mushroom bacon topping on a baked potato. Let's try this. Nice and flaky. Definitely came out nice and flaky. Crunchy on the top, the way it should be. The potato is nicely baked. Nice and smooth. Get some bacon on there and try that. I love the mushrooms on there, just because it gives it much of a smoother, buttery taste with that butter in there versus just adding sour cream and butter that everybody does. But it definitely tastes good. The fish obviously works great with like a California Merlot or Pinot Noir. As far as serving it, it's great with a side salad. Just got a raspberry almond salad just tossed together. You could add a vinaigrette to it or whatever you like as far as dressing. And other than that, just have fun and enjoy cooking while I'm enjoying this fish. Have a good one.